What is going on, guys, and welcome back to another episode of The Jets Ward. I am your host, Ryan Ward, and I'm so excited to be back with you guys. The NFL draft is not that far away, guys. It is next week, starting on Thursday, the 24th, and you guys know what it is. I'm going to be doing a 3-round mock draft with you guys full. I'm going to be picking for every team. There could be some trades, and this is based on what I think could end up happening in the first round based on all the rumors and speculations that are going to be going on. But first, if you are new here, welcome. You are always welcome in the Jets Ward, whether you are a Jets fan or a fan of another team. You are always welcome here. This is a safe space for you. If you've been here before, thank you so much for joining me again and welcome back. I'm so happy having you guys. You guys make this so much fun for me to do, and I'm glad you guys enjoy the content. Getting into the NFL draft, I'm going to be, like I said, I'm going to be doing a mock draft, 3 full rounds, talking about what I think each team is going to do, trades that I think could be made. And I might shock people with some of the ideas. I'm going to try to propose these trades as well, try to get them to work. If they don't work, then we're just going to keep trying it until it does. But getting into it, like I say, I'm going to be doing this 3-round mock draft, and I use the Pro Football and Sports Network. I find this one to be really, really good and has a lot of good rankings for players. But getting into it, the first pick is going to be for the Tennessee Titans. They are on the clock. And in all honesty, I don't think it is shocking anymore who they are going to go with. They are going to go with Cam Ward. He is the first pick in this draft. He is going to be going to the Tennessee Titans. Titans need a quarterback. They got Will Levis, but they need somebody in there who is going to rejuvenate that offense and create a spark for them. And I think Cam Ward can do that for them, leading into the Browns' next pick. And this one is a really big toss-up. For a while, they thought they were going to go quarterback. Shedeur Sanders could have been going there. Then another one, there's been rumors about Abdul Carter going there. And recently, it's looking more and more like Travis Hunter will be the pick. And honestly, I'm starting to lean that way too. I think Travis Hunter is going to go to the Cleveland Browns. Guy can play cornerback, guy can play receiver. They need a wide receiver that can complement Jerry Jeudy, who had a breakout season last year with so many different quarterbacks. But Jerry Jeudy showed that he can be a good complementary piece. Get somebody in there who can get him open as well. Travis Hunter can be a stud and a solid receiver. Can also help out with cornerback too. I don't know how possible it is for him to play both positions, but it will be fun to see what he can do for the Cleveland Browns. Leading into the next one, it's obvious. I don't think Shedeur Sanders is going to go this high. The Giants are hosting him again for a private workout with the team. The Giants have been doing their due diligence. They're also meeting with Jalen Milroe. They've met with Tyler Shuck from Louisville. They've met with all types of quarterbacks, but it always comes back to Shedeur with these guys. I don't think they take him. I think they go the best player available, and that one is Abdul Carter. I think he is the biggest player of need for them right now. They have a lot of edge rushers, but don't be shocked if they take Abdul Carter and then end up trading Kayvon Thibodeaux to another team. Thibodeaux is a great player, but he hasn't been what the Giants expected so far. So don't be shocked if he gets traded, maybe to the Lions or something like that. The Giants go Abdul Carter, or if they keep all 3 edge rushers, that could be a really nasty defense with all 3 of them. But then we lead into the Patriots, and it's been all Will Campbell that have been mocked to them. But I don't think they go Will Campbell. I honestly think the player that they're going to go with is one that's been getting a lot of hype and somebody who's been looked at as could be the top tackle in this draft. Armand Membou, I think, ends up going to the New England Patriots. And honestly, I think that could be a great move. I know they just signed Morgan Moses as a right tackle, but you have Armand Membou who can play both tackles. He's played predominantly right side. I could see him playing left side, and then when Morgan Moses retires, moving back to the right side. They need to shore up that offensive line to help Drake May. They could go receiver Ted McMillan here, or another top receiver, Matthew Golden, who has been gaining a lot of praise as well. But I think Armand Membou ends up going to the New England Patriots and he fits Vrabel's type of offensive style. That power, gritty, type of running. And honestly, I think the New England Patriots would love Armand Membou on that offensive line, whether it's at one of the tackle positions or at one of the guard positions. But leading into the next one, this is where I could honestly see a trade happening, but I don't know if the Jaguars would be willing to leave that spot with all of these great players still on the board. And in all honesty, I think they're going to end up sticking and picking here. And I think the player that they're going to go with is Mason Graham to shore up that defensive line. They need more defensive tackle help, and you're going to get the best one in the draft right here with Mason Graham. Like I said, 1 through 5, these picks are I think are guaranteed to happen. Not guaranteed, because nothing's guaranteed in the NFL draft. But in all honesty, I think this definitely could happen in this draft. The first 5 picks, Cam Ward, Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter, Armand Membou, and Mason Graham, leading us into the next pick. And this is where I think we get our first trade. And this trade is going to happen between the Colts and the Raiders. Now, what I'm going to suggest is the Colts are going to trade them their 14th overall pick and pick 45 and a future 5th. And the Raiders are just going to get, or the Colts are going to get pick 6. Let's see if this works. It does not. So let's see again. Let's try to propose, because I honestly think this could be where a trade happens. I'm going to do the Las Vegas and Colts this way. And let's do pick 6, 14, and let's do pick 80 and a future 6. Let's see if this one works. That works. Now, you're probably thinking, Ryan, why are you thinking the Colts are going to trade up? Well, 2 positions that the Jets have been very interested in that are big needs are the offensive tackle, right tackle, Armand Membou, who's been mocked to them, just got picked by the Patriots. Now, another one, Tyler Warren, tight end. Another big need for the Colts is tight end. And honestly, this is where I see Tyler Warren going. The Colts try to trade up to take Tyler Warren, leading the Jets without 2 of their top options. Will Campbell is there, and the Jets have been rumored to have a lot of love for him as well. But I honestly have been team trade back for my New York Jets, and there's going to be a big trade that I think really happens, and this is going to be the Jets trading back with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And you're probably thinking, wow, do you think the Jets are honestly going to trade that far back? And I honestly think, yes, they will. And they'll try to get a 4th as well. Confirm. That's trade. And now you're probably thinking, Ryan, who are the Steelers trading up so much for? And these trades, I'm just trying to make them work. There could be so much more that goes into these trades. We don't know what the general managers are going to be doing. But honestly, 2 trades already happening in my mind. Colts trading up to take Tyler Warren from the Jets. If Tyler Warren was there at pick 7, I think the Jets would stick and pick and take him. But since he's gone, the Jets are going to want to trade back and get more assets for this draft. And honestly, I think the Steelers are going to try to jump up because I think they are going to try to take Shedeur Sanders at this pick because they need a quarterback. We don't know if Aaron Rodgers is going to Pittsburgh. We don't know. They have Mason Rudolph as a starting quarterback. They need quarterback help, and I think Shedeur Sanders would love to go to Pittsburgh. And it's rumored that Mike Tomlin really, really likes Shedeur Sanders as well. So definitely could be in play for the Steelers, and I think they would want to trade up to try to get their QB of the future. Now, leading us into the next pick, Carolina. What do they do? One of their biggest needs, they need cornerback help. They need edge help. They need offensive line help, safety help, wide receiver help. Well, we have one of the best offensive linemen still on the board, tackle. They need interior help more. They could go cornerback. They can go receiver. Ted McMillan is still there. But in all honesty, I think they are going to go for more edge help. And don't be shocked if the player that they take is going to be Shemar Stewart. I think they end up going edge. And this guy is a physical freak. And honestly, I think the Carolina Panthers would love to have somebody of his size and power to help in the run defense and rush defense because he's got a lot of good pass rushing moves as well. Doesn't show a lot in his numbers in college, but the pressures that he had can cause issues. And I think the Carolina Panthers would love to have Shemar Stewart. And that leads us into the New Orleans Saints. What's their biggest need right now? Quarterback. We all know Derek Carr is not going to be there for them this year. He is out for the season with a shoulder injury. So they are going to go quarterback, and Jackson Dart is their quarterback for them. So that leads us into the Chicago Bears. And just going back on Jackson Dart, I think, is a great quarterback. And it's been a juggle between him and Shedeur Sanders of who they fit best with. In all honesty, I think Jackson Dart could fit really well in Kellen Moore's type of offense. He had Jalen Hurts last year, a guy who can move around and throw on the run. Jackson Dart in that system, I think, could be solid. Give him a year to learn, and I think he could be really, really good for the New Orleans Saints. But that leads us into the Chicago Bears. And one of the big needs for Chicago, they need a lot of offensive line help. They need running back help. They need edge help, linebacker, safety. There's a lot of things that these guys could do. But in all honesty, what I could see them doing is taking running back Ashton Jeanty. He is just so good. They need more running back help, and you get the best one in the draft. I honestly think he could be a steal for Chicago if he were to fall. And I think he might, because running back is not looked at as that premier position anymore. And you look at Chicago, they have their quarterback. They built up the interior of that offensive line, and they have their receivers. Get him an outlet, get him a running back, and you got the best one in the draft to help Caleb Williams for the future. That leads us into San Francisco. And there's a lot of different things that San Francisco could do here. They need a lot of defensive help. And in all honesty, you're seeing all these players here. You got Will Campbell, Will Johnson. They do need cornerback help. Ted McMillan is still there at receiver. Jalen Walker at linebacker. Honestly, I think what the Niners are going to do with Robert Saleh's defense, they are going to want to get physical on that defensive line. They are going to want edge help, and they are going to take Mike Green from Marshall. The guy, he is so good. He's got a lot of bend and speed and power off that edge, something that I think Robert Saleh would love for their defense, leading us into the Dallas Cowboys pick. They need running back help. They need edge help, offensive guard help, cornerback help, wide receiver. One of the big things that they've been doing is they've been looking at receivers a lot to align with CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb is a powerful receiver, strong. Complement him with a receiver that has a lot of speed. They are going to take Matthew Golden out of Texas. The guys looked at him, and Tet have been going back and forth as the best receivers in this draft. And it's showing more and more that Golden is looked at as being a very solid route runner, solid hands, speed out of this world. He's really, really fast. And I think that could complement CeeDee Lamb so well in Dallas and open up that offense. They just signed 2 new running backs to 1-year deals. So they gave Dak a little bit of help there. They have a solid tight end in Ferguson there. And they got a lot of assets to help Dak out. Get him another receiver, and I think that could be solid for them. Now, leading into the next one for the Miami Dolphins, there's been a lot of rumors about Miami right now. And one of the biggest things that came out today was that Jalen Ramsey and the Dolphins are mutually seeking a trade. So Jalen Ramsey will be on the move to another team, which means that they are going to have a big need at cornerback, and the best cornerback is on the board here. That is Will Johnson. He is going to go to Miami at this pick. Leading us into the Raiders pick, a lot of trades. I had trades up top. I don't think the Raiders are going to be willing to trade again, but they are very happy with how things are turning out. They could have gone Ashton Jeanty, but they do need receiver help as well. And Ted McMillan is still on the board in this mock draft. And these are things that I think could actually happen in this draft. You guys might be thinking, Ryan, you're crazy. This is just crazy what you are doing in this draft. But we don't know. No, we don't know where these players are going to end up going, in all honesty. But with this being said, they're going to go Ted McMillan. You need a compliment for Jakobi Meyers in Las Vegas. You need to give Geno Smith a big receiver. Pete Carroll and Geno Smith loved working with those big receivers. Remember, DK Metcalf in Seattle. That was a big pick for Pete Carroll. He loves his bigger receivers. And Ted McMillan is the biggest one in this draft in the first round, who can block, who can be physical at the point of point catch, and to high point the ball. Guy is a monster. Guy's a freak. I think the Raiders would love to get this and extra picks later down the road, which leads us into the Falcons and their biggest thing that they would want. At this point, they have a lot of defensive needs. They could go safety, they could go corner, but there's a player that they are rumored to be in love with at this point, and that is Jalen Walker. And I think they end up taking Jalen Walker, linebacker out of Georgia. He ends up falling to them, and they are really, really happy. He does not go that far. He stays in Georgia and stays with the Atlanta Falcons, and I think they're really happy with that. Leading us into the next pick with the Cardinals. Now, they could use edge help. They could use a lot of different things to help out with them. Edge, defensive tackle, wide receiver, guard, linebacker. Where do they end up going? They were hoping that Ted McMillan fell to them with how this draft goes. Do they take edge? Who's the next available edge? Michael Williams, who could be a solid player for them. Honestly, I think, let's see, receivers, because they could definitely use more receiver help. Emeka Egbuka, I love Egbuka. Luther Burden's a solid one for them. Imagine Emeka Egbuka fitting with another Ohio State receiver. Honestly, I think they end up going edge. That's your biggest need right now. And Michael Williams is going to end up going to Arizona. And I think that's going to help solidify that defense a lot in this place. Now, leading into the next pick, the Cincinnati Bengals. They need defensive help. And they need a lot of it. So what I think is going to end up happening, they are going to try to take the best available defensive tackle or defensive player. And that one on the board is Derek Harmon. I think he could be a solid pick for them. Malachi Starks. They need safety help. Edge help. Let's see who's still on the board for edge help. They go Nick Scorton, who's looked at as being really good. James Pierce, Donovan Nzruko, Landon Jackson. Linebacker, Jahad Campbell is still there. Cornerback, Jahad Barron. Honestly, this is going to shock people. I don't think they go Derek Harmon. I think Cincinnati is going to end up taking Walter Nolan from Ole Miss. The guy is a freak of nature. And I keep saying that about a lot of these players, but these defensive players, especially Walter Nolan, showed a ton of athleticism and power and speed on that defensive line. Something that the Bengals definitely need. Because their pass rush last year was non-existent, except for Hendrickson, who we don't know if he's going to get traded or if he's going to get his contract, honestly. But give him some help. Get some more pass rushers and some more power on that defensive line to help the run stuffing and the pass rush. And I think Walter Nolan could be the perfect fit for the Cincinnati Bengals. And that leads us into the next pick with the Seattle Seahawks. And honestly, I think this could be a perfect spot for a trade. And we're going to do the Seattle Seahawks. Where are they on here? Gotta find them. Where are you? There they are, right under the Jets. They are going to trade with the Chargers. Where are you? They're going to trade with the Chargers because Chargers need a tight end. They just signed Tyler Conklin, but there is a player still there that I think they are. Ooh, that one didn't work. Let's try again with this. It is Seattle trading with the Chargers. Pick 18, pick 22. It's not that far, so let's see if 125 will work. No, still. Come on, Seahawks and Chargers, work for me here, because this is a perfect spot that I could see a trade happening. So trading 18 and 22. Let's just do straight up. So we'll do it straight up just to make it work. Seattle could get a lot more in this. I know that we're just trying to make it work here. But the thing that the Chargers need is a tight end. And where was their head coach, Harbaugh, coaching before he came to the Chargers? He was coaching at Michigan, and he would love to get his previous tight end back. Colston Loveland ends up going to the Chargers, and it takes away from a big need that the Broncos have as well, and the Broncos need tight end help too. Leading us into the next pick, and that is the Buccaneers pick. They need cornerback help. They need safety help, linebacker help, edge help. And there is a great player, Jedi Barron, still there. He is going to be a solid cornerback, and I think they get a steal with him at pick 19, leading us to the Broncos. And honestly, they have running back, wide receiver, linebacker, cornerback, tight end. Don't be shocked if they reach on a running back here. And I think they end up doing that. Honestly, I think they end up doing that, and they end up taking O'Myron Hampton, who is looked at as being a beast, powerhouse in this offense, or could be a powerhouse in this offense. Get a power running back. They just lost their Williams to the Cowboys in free agency. Replace him with a great young running back. And that leads us into the Jets. They need offensive tackle help. Luckily, one of the best ones in this draft has fallen to them. Will Campbell is coming to the New York Jets. A lot of you guys are going to say there's no way he's fallen that far. But you honestly never know what could happen in these drafts. Will Campbell could end up falling this far because maybe a lot of people see him as more of a guard. But honestly, he falls to the Jets in this mock draft, and I think it's going to be a perfect fit for him, leading us into the next pick for the Seattle Seahawks. They need guard, tackle, wide receiver, cornerback, edge. And what they are going to do, they are going to try to build up on that interior offensive line. They are going to go Tyler Booker from Alabama. Power, solid run blocker, decent pass blocker as well. Guy could really shore up and give some protection up the gut for Sam Darnold in Seattle. I think that's a great pick for them. Leading us into the Green Bay pick. And there's a lot of ways that they can go. They could go edge help, cornerback help, wide receiver, defensive tackle, linebacker. I honestly think they end up taking a linebacker here, and the best one in the draft is still there. I think they go Jihad Campbell. He can blitz off the edge. He can be a stalwart in the middle of that defense, and it just builds up on a strength for this defense. And I think that's a great move for the Green Bay Packers in this one. Now we get to the Minnesota Vikings. And they need a lot of safety help. And it's been, who are they going to go with? Nick Emenwari or Malachi Starks? I honestly think Nick Emenwari is the best safety in this draft. But I think what they might do is they might end up taking Malachi Starks. He's been ranked on a lot of people's boards. That's the best safety in this draft. And honestly, the Vikings might see that as well. And it might be a great compliment for Brian Flores' defense. Guy's a ball hawk, not afraid to tackle, can cover as well. So honestly, I think that could be a good move for them. Which leads us into the Houston Texans. And don't be surprised if there's a trade here. Would the Texans trade out of this spot? I don't know. No, I think they're going to stick and pick, and they're going to take Calvin Banks out of Texas. Get Stroud more help in the blocking. All right. Get him more blocking help, pass blocking help. Kelvin Banks is a solid right tackle, can be your starter from day one. And just make sure Stroud is upright to be able to throw to Nico Collins, his best receiver out there. Tank Dell is going to be injured and out for the next year. They just lost Stephon Diggs. Receiver could be a big need for them, but there are solid receivers in this draft that could help out. Okay, the Texans later. Now, going into the next one, we have the Rams. They need linebacker help, cornerback help, edge help, tight end help, and running back help. I end up seeing a trade here, and I see them trading with the Lions because the Lions are looking at these players and trying to get up because one of their biggest things that they have is they need, I'm just going to do, projected. Do I end up trading here? Honestly, do the Rams end up trading here? You know what? No, I'm not going to do a trade here. I thought you could definitely see a trade happening between the Lions and the Rams here, but I do see players dropping in this draft because of how talented it is. And looking at the Rams' needs, I think they're going to end up going cornerback here. And there's a cornerback on here that hasn't been talked about a ton, Shavon Revel. Very underrated. I think he ends up going to the Rams and being a solid player for them. And that leads us into Baltimore. Baltimore could use offensive line help, cornerback help, edge help. There's a lot of different things that they could do. And what I end up seeing them doing, they go Gray Zabel, play guard or tackle. They're going to love this kid. He is a great player. And there have been mock drafts where he goes higher than this. There have been mock drafts where I've seen him going in the second round. I honestly think this is the perfect spot for him. And I think he could be amazing in that scheme that Baltimore loves to run. Leading us into the next part with the Detroit Lions. They need edge help, and I think they're going to end up taking a very athletic one. James Pierce Jr. is going to end up going to the Detroit Lions. I think they just love the athleticism that this kid has. A lot of bend, a lot of speed coming off that edge. And I think they don't have much needs, honestly. So they're going to take the best one on their board, and I think that's James Pierce. Which leads us into the next team, the Washington Commanders. Now, they traded for Debo. So they have two solid receivers in Terry McLaurin and in Debo Samuel. So I don't think wide receiver is as big of a need as people would think. Could use a defensive tackle, but they did just sign the legendary Javon Kinlaw to a monster deal, which I don't understand how he got. Cornerback help they could definitely use. They could use edge help. What I end up seeing them doing? What do you do? Safety help, Nick Emenwari. Yep. I think I know what I'm going to do. Nick Emenwari, you are a commander. I think he could be perfect for them. Physical, ball hawk. Guy could come in and help solidify that run defense. And I think he could be a steal for Washington. Which leads us into the Buffalo pick. Now, Buffalo, they need cornerback help. They need defensive tackle help. They need a lot of defensive positions. But they could also use a number one receiver in this spot as well. But I think it would be too hard to pass up on Derek Harmon, who ends up falling this far. I think he can solidify that defensive line and help open up for Ed Oliver. He could help open up for Epinesa. He could help open up for all of these solid players that the Buffalo Bills have and just bolster that defense and try to make it a strength again. Because when you have Josh Allen as your quarterback, even when you have Khalil Shakir and all these other guys who might not be number ones on other teams, you still got Josh Allen, and your offense is always going to be formidable. Dalton Kincaid had a down year last year. They had Dawson Knox as well. Dalton Kincaid, I think, can have a much better year this year. I think they're going to utilize him a lot more coming up. And so I think Buffalo will try to basically build up on that defensive line in this case, which leads us into the Kansas City Chiefs. And honestly, with this, what they could use, defensive tackle, offensive guard, edge, offensive tackle, and safety. They need line help. And I think Josh Simmons it would be the pick here because their offensive line, they almost got Patrick Mahomes killed last year. Even though they made it to the Super Bowl, if you watch that Super Bowl, Mahomes was running for his life on every single play. So, in all honesty, get him Josh Simmons, who's a stalwart, as long as he can stay healthy. I think you have your left tackle for years and years to come. And I think he could be solid for them as long as he stays healthy. Which leads us into the Super Bowl winning Philadelphia Eagles. They need edge help, guard help, cornerback help, defensive tackle, offensive tackle. Where do they go from here? Honestly, they could use more edge help, and I think they end up going with Donovan Nzechukwu from Boston College. Very underrated guy. I think he has a lot of talent coming off that edge, a lot of speed, a lot of power, and I just think he fits the Philadelphia Eagles defense a lot. And I think that could be a solid pick. Which brings us into the second round with the Browns. Starting off, I don't think there's going to be a ton of trades in this one, so I'm just going to go through what I think. I think the first round is where most of the trades are going to happen, and on day 3 as well. But getting into this next one, we're going to fire through. If the board is like this, the Browns, they just got their receiver/cornerback for years to come with Travis Hunter. That's not who I wanted. We have the Browns here. So Browns have Travis Hunter, and could they go defensive tackle, offensive tackle, DT? They could go quarterback here because they do need quarterback help. In all honesty, I think they could go quarterback. Does Jalen Milroe really fit that offense, though? I don't think so. I think they're willing to wait on quarterback. And I think they're going to end up going defensive tackle. And the best one on the board, Tyleik Williams. I think Tyleik Williams ends up going to Cleveland just to bolster that defense. Honestly, you get a guy like that who's great in run defense. He can come in and be a steal at this pick. And I think he's going to be the first pick of the next round, of the second round, going to Cleveland just to beef up that defensive line, which opens up for the Giants. And honestly, this could be really good for them because they still got the quarterback that they have interest in. I think they go Jalen Milroe here. Jalen Milroe ends up going to the Giants, so they get their edge rusher and they get their quarterback of the future because we know Russ is only on a 1-year deal. We know Jameis Winston's on a 2-year deal. But if Jalen Milroe gets a year to sit and they actually put an offense around him that builds around him, I think he could be the perfect fit for the New York Giants, which leads us into Tennessee. Tennessee got their quarterback in the first round. Now, what do you need? You need a receiver who can go along with Ridley. You need cornerback, linebacker. Honestly, I think they stick with receiver, and Emeka Egbuka ends up going to the Tennessee Titans. Get your quarterback a solid receiver who can complement Calvin Ridley just as well, which leads us into the Jaguars pick. We gave them a DT in the first round. We have a couple other picks that they could use as well. They need receiver help, and I think they end up going with Luther Burden III. They got their defensive tackle. Now they got the replacement for, who was it that they just had? I don't remember his name, but they get their receiver replacement, and I think Luther Burden could be a solid player from them. Leading into the Raiders, who did we end up taking for the Raiders? I don't remember who we ended up taking for the Raiders. Let's scroll up. Ted McMillan. They got their receiver. Okay. Now, cornerback, running back, wide receiver. Could they go running back here? I think they could. Or, hear me out. There's a safety there that could come in and really be good as a solid replacement for Trayvon Merrick. I think they go Xavier Watts. Xavier Watts is very underrated in this draft from Notre Dame. Powerhouse, solid player. and I think could come in and be a great replacement for Trayvon Merrick and be a better fit for that defense because they need a lot of defensive help. And honestly, I think this could be great for them. Leading us into the New England Patriots, they need receiver help as well. They just got their offensive tackle of the future with Armand Membou. They need a receiver help. They need receiver help. And honestly, I see them going Trey Harris. They get Trey Harris, who's a great receiver. Jackson Dart's number one receiver from Ole Miss. I think he comes in and is a solid player for New England and helps build up that receiving core for New England and makes them formidable. Which leads us into Chicago. They got their running back of the future in Chicago with Ashton Jeanty. Now, build up that offensive line. You need tackle help. There's a tackle there that's looked at as one of the best. Dom C really loves this guy, and I think he's solid as well. Josh Connerly Jr. is going to be going to Chicago, so they can beef up that offensive line, the tackle position. Which leads us into the Saints. They got their quarterback. They need guard help, wide receiver help, cornerback help, edge help, running back help. Honestly, you just got your quarterback of the future in Jackson Dart. Now, let's help him. And the best way to help him is building on that offensive line. And I think Donovan Jackson from Ohio State, who can play guard or tackle, would be a great pick for the Saints here because he's just great at run blocking and pass blocking. And keep him at guard, and I think you guys would have a solid offensive line and a guy who can be great for years to come. Now, leading into the Chicago Bears, we just gave them a tackle. They have a running back. Now, let's get them some defensive help. They need safety help, edge help, linebacker help. Let's go with Nick Scorton is still there at edge. He could be solid. Or Carson Schweichinger at linebacker. I think he could be a great fit for Chicago as well. They're going to go the best player available. They're going to go Nick Scorton. They need edge help, and I think he could come in and be really, really good for them. So, solid play for them. Now, what do my Jets do here? I love Kenneth Grant. The Jets definitely need some defensive tackle help, and Kenneth Grant would be amazing. But there is a bigger position of need, and that is tight end. And I think the Jets, they've done their homework on Mason Taylor. I think they end up going Mason Taylor, tight end from LSU. Solid route runner, great hands, can block, but still needs to improve on blocking as well. And I think he ends up going to the New York Jets. Jason Taylor's son, Jason Taylor did play for the Jets, which is great, but also he's more well-known for the Dolphins. But I think Mason Taylor could come in and be our number one tight end right off the bat. And as we know, Justin Fields loves having a safety net at tight end, and Mason Taylor could be that guy. Now, going in with the 49ers. What did we get for them? We gave them in the first round. Where are you, Niners? I think you're higher. Mike Green, edge. So we gave them an edge in the first round. Do they stick on defense? Honestly, I think they do. They're going to stick on defense and get themselves Kenneth Grant. They're going to beef up that defensive line. Honestly, I think that could be great for them. Stack that defense under Robert Saleh. They are going to be really, really good on that defense again. And now they got Green as a solid edge rusher and Kenneth Grant. Bosa's going to feast with all that help. All right. So I think Kenneth Grant could be a really good pick for them. Now going to the Cowboys. They got the receiver of the future here in the first round. They also need running back help. They do need guard help, cornerback help as well. But I think they're going to try to build up that offense, and they are going to go Trayvon Henderson here. I think they get a young stud running back, and I think they try to help out Dak Prescott even more, building up that offense, which leads us to the Indianapolis Colts at pick 45. They got their tight end of the future in the first round. They need a center. They need a guard. They need a linebacker. They need a QB. They have two QBs right now, which I don't think they're going to draft one this early. what I think they end up doing, I think they go the best player available at linebacker, and that's Carson Schweissinger. I think he ends up going to them, and I think he's a perfect fit for the Indianapolis Colts there. I think that could be amazing for the Colts. Which leads us into the Atlanta Falcons. They need cornerback help. I think they desperately need cornerback help. I don't believe I gave them cornerback in the first round. Falcons. Jalen Walker, they got the edge rusher they wanted, the linebacker they wanted. They're going to go cornerback, try to beef up that secondary. And I think the best one on the board that fits them, Trey Amos. I love Trey Amos from Ole Miss. I think that defense was so underrated this year. They were solid. And I think he was a big reason for that. So Trey Amos goes to the Atlanta Falcons to solidify that defense, leading us into the next one with the Arizona Cardinals. These guys, what did I do for them in the first round? Sorry, I keep scrolling back and forth. I am just trying to go back and forth to make sure that I don't double dip at position. Michael Williams, edge rusher. I think solid player for them. You got your edge rusher, which was a big need for the Cardinals to beef up that defense. But what I think they do now, they are going to go receiver here. And the best ones, they have Jalen Royals, Jalen Noel, who's really solid, Jaden Higgins, Kyle Williams, Jack Besh. Alec Iomanar, I think, is so good as well. Tej Johnson. Now, who would complement Marvin Harrison Jr. the best? And in all honesty, because he's a big receiver. He's a tough receiver. Get somebody small and shifty. Honestly, I think Jalen Noel. Yeah. Jalen Noel could be perfect for the Cardinals, and I think that's a great fit for them. Which gets us into the Dolphins. Now, with the Dolphins, I picked for them Will Johnson, cornerback, because, like I said, they are going to need a lot of help at this time with the cornerback help, especially with Jalen Ramsey not going to be there possibly. So they need a lot of help. They need guard help, tackle help. They need to beef up that offensive line. So let's go with Ariante Ursary. I think he ends up going to Miami to help beef up that offensive line, that tackle position. Solid player from Minnesota. I think he could be really good for them. Which leads us into Cincinnati, which don't be shocked if this whole draft, Cincinnati just goes defense because they need a ton of help on defense. They got Walter Nolan in the first round. They need so much. And in all honesty, I wouldn't be shocked if they go edge rusher right here or cornerback help. They got their defensive tackle. I'm going to go Landon Jackson, the best edge rusher available at this point. He ends up going to Cincinnati to beef up that defense as well, give them extra help. Then we get to Seattle. They got guard help last time. They need tackle help as well. I believe I gave them a guard last time. I think I gave them Landon or Tyler Booker guard. So I did give them guard help. So Seattle, what could they do? They do need edge. They do need cornerback help, receiver help. Okay. All right. I think I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to give them Benjamin Morrison, cornerback from Notre Dame. Ends up falling here. I think he's going to be a good cornerback. Solid player. Can cover really well. Big guy. Good at man coverage. Can play zone as well. I think he's going to be solid. That leads us to the Broncos. I gave them a Myron Hampton, I believe, in the first round. Yeah, I believe I gave them a Myron Hampton. I did, running back. What they are going to need now is they could use receiver help. They could use tight end help. They could use linebacker help. In all honesty, I could see them going tight end here. And I see them going with one of the most athletic tight ends in this draft, Harold Fainin Jr. Give Bo Nix a solid receiving option, an outlet, and I think Harold Fainin Jr. could be perfect for Denver. Beef up that offense and give them another threat. Which leads us back to Seattle. And I gave them Benjamin Morrison the last time. And at this point, I am going to give them Jalen Royals. Give them another receiver. Another receiving option to go along with Jackson Smith and Jigba and Cooper Kupp. Just more weapons for Sam Darnold to utilize. And all honesty, I think he could be solid for them and utilize these weapons really well. Which leads us into Tampa Bay's next pick. I gave them Jada Barron in the first round. They could use safety. They could use edge. They could use linebacker. There's a lot of different ways that they can go. And I see them. Let's see the safeties. Who's left for safety? Is there anybody worth? Ooh, Makuba. Winston as well. I think Makuba is going to go a lot higher than a lot of people think. Does he fit here? Yeah. I think Andrew Makuba will be the pick here. Round 2. A lot of people love him. And Tampa Bay can utilize all these assets for them for their defense. I think this could be a solid pick for them. Jada Barron and Andrew Makuba. And let me see. Where did what's his name? But Barron go? Because if did he go to Texas? Yeah. That's so funny. They basically, the Buccaneers are becoming the Tampa Bay Longhorns, taking their secondary. That's really funny. But I think that could actually happen, in all honesty. Which leads us into the Packers. I gave them linebacker help in the first round. They could use edge help, cornerback help, wide receiver help. And they're going to take an edge here. And honestly, the edge, who's very underrated, is Princely Amunilan. I don't know how to pronounce that name. If I butchered it, which I probably did, I apologize. But that Ole Miss defense was solid, and I think this kid's underrated. I think he is a really, really solid option at edge and can just beef up that defense even more for the Green Bay Packers and just make that more of a strength for them. Now, getting us to the Chargers. They got their tight end for the future in Colston Loveland. Where do they go here? They could use defensive tackle help. They could use receiver help. They could use cornerback help and center help. Honestly, looking at my options, let's see who's at defensive tackle still. TJ Sanders, Darius Alexander. Offense, receiver, who's receivers? Jaden Higgins is still there. Let's see. Let's go to Jared Wilson, Seth McLaughlin. This is the tough one, guys, because now they're trying to figure out who they can get. D-tackle is the biggest one of need and receiver. And they're going to have to reach on one of these players if that's where they were to go. Let's see. Cornerback is a big need as well. They did just lose Asante Samuel Jr. I honestly think they are going to go cornerback here, and Maxwell Harrison is going to be the pick. I think they're going to go for speed, and this guy is really, really quick, and I think he is going to fit that defense really, really well. So Maxwell Harrison goes to the the Los Angeles Chargers, bringing us to Buffalo. And let me see. I gave you guys Derek Harmon in the first round, defensive tackle, beefing up that defense. Do you stick with tackle? I don't. Defense, do you stick with defense or do you go receiver? Looking at this, what I think you guys end up doing is giving Josh Allen a big receiving option, and I think Jaden Higgins ends up going here. I could definitely see that. So Jaden Higgins ends up in Buffalo, which could be a solid option for him. Big receiver, gets open, solid player, very well loved in that locker room as well. So steal for Buffalo at this point. Leading us into Carolina. Carolina, where did I go with you guys? I gave you Shamar Stewart in the first round. Let's see, did I give you another pick somewhere? No. So Carolina, I gave you Shamar Stewart. Definitely. Give me 1 second. Sorry about that, guys. Could definitely see. They went edge first round. Cornerback help could be definitely solid for you guys. I think you do. I think you go Ezra Thomas from Florida State. Just beef up that defense again. Just give support. J.C. Horn is out there, cornerback. I think Thomas can be the solid number 2 cornerback option. And that leads us to Houston. You need to build up your offensive line. And honestly, I think you still go offensive line help just to surround Stroud. Jonas Salvanea from Arizona, I think, was going to be your pick. Beef up that offensive line. Make sure Stroud has protection. There's not a receiver high enough for me to reach on for you guys right here. So I think continuing to build up that offensive line could be solid for you. Which leads us into the next pick, which is Baltimore. I believe I gave you a guard, Gray Zabel, here. So where do you guys go? I think you end up going on the defensive side of the ball at this point. And I think you guys try to beef up the edge and go with JT Tuimoloau from Ohio State. I think he's going to be solid for you guys. Great bend on that team. And I think could really, really help you guys out. Detroit, I believe I gave you an edge, James Pierce Jr. So you got your defensive edge rusher. Again, you guys don't have many needs. So it's really hard to help you guys. But one of the biggest things that you guys love to do is build up that offensive line. And taking the best offensive guard here, Wyatt Millam, could help you with that offensive line help and give you another interior-minded player, strong interior player from West Virginia. So Detroit gets another lineman and more help for their offense. Which brings us to the Commanders. I gave you Nick Emenwari in the first round. Now, we could continue on the defense. I could give you a receiver help, but you already have 2 solid receivers. I think you can wait on that. Yeah, I think you guys end up going edge. Edge from UCLA. Olufemi Aldeheo ends up going to you guys, building up that defense, making it strong as well. And then we come back to Buffalo. Buffalo has been doing really well. They got a defensive tackle, a receiver. What else could you guys use in this draft? Could use linebacker help as well. Do you want edge help? No, I don't think so. Let's go with check defense. Linebackers, Barrett Carter, Chris Paul Jr. Chris Paul Jr. is very, very underrated. Honestly, I really like Chris Paul Jr. And I think he could really easily skyrocket up some of these boards and go higher than a lot of people think. Yeah, I'm going to take Chris Paul Jr. to Buffalo in this late round. Another Ole Miss player. But Ole Miss is going to have a lot of players taken in this draft. And Chris Paul Jr., I think, could be stud for Buffalo on that defense. He's a really, really underrated player. Can cover, can hit the holes fast, can tackle, not afraid to get his head in there and tackle. Really, really underrated player. Leading us into Kansas City. And honestly, where did I go with you guys in the first round? I think I gave you a tackle. So beefing up that offensive line, which is a solid play for you guys. You also need receiver help. You really, really need receiver help. And do I pull the trigger on a receiver this early? You got Kyle Williams, Jack Besh. Jack Besh really, really seems like a player that you guys would love. And I'm going to go with it. Jack Besh to the Kansas City Chiefs, giving them more receiver help and helping them out a ton. Which leads us into the Eagles. Now, I gave them an edge in the first round. They did lose cornerback Darius Slay, so they could definitely go cornerback here as well. Defensive tackle is also a big one to give more depth on that defensive line. And I think they're going to go defensive tackle. And the player I think they are going to go with is Darius Alexander. Big physical guy. Really, really strong. Putting him on that defensive line could make it even more terrifying. So Darius Alexander ends up going to the Philadelphia Eagles, which leads us into our next pick and the final round of this draft. We are going to try to get through this pretty good. That's just my dog over there, Bentley. Hi, buddy. But anyway, going through this, we gave them edge rusher and we gave them a quarterback. Now, where do we go from here? Honestly, you guys could use a receiver. And I think you do. I think you go Alec Ayamonor. I think you guys definitely need receiver help here. And you really, really need to give something to your quarterbacks. Give them weapons. And I think Ayamonor can be really, really good for you. Which leads us into Kansas City. And I gave you guys some good picks. Jack Bech, receiver. I gave you offensive tackle. Honestly, I think you continue on with now you move on to the defensive side. And I'm going to give you guys TJ Sanders from South Carolina. I think he could come in and, again, bring physicality and extra pass rush to that defense and make it more terrifying than it already is. Then we get to Cleveland. You got Travis Hunter, and you got, who did I give you? Sorry, guys, keep going back. I just can't remember. Tyleik Williams, defensive tackle. So you guys are doing really well in this draft. I think this could be where you guys end up going quarterback, and I think you guys do end up taking quarterback Tyler Shough here. I think he ends up going to you guys and can be a solid one, can compete with Kenny Pickett and Joe Flacco in Cleveland, and who knows, could end up starting for you guys. Tyler Shough goes to Cleveland, which leads us into the Raiders. And I gave you guys, looking up again, Raiders, I gave you Xavier Watts, safety, and earlier in the draft, I gave you Ted McMillan, so you got a wide receiver and a safety. And you guys do need more help on the defensive side of the ball, but you also need help on the offense. And I think Quinshon Judkins is where you guys end up going, running back. Guy, I think, who is really, really solid, can do everything. 3 down back, power, speed, can do anything for you. Got solid hands out of the backfield. I think Quinshon Judkins could be solid for the Raiders here. Which brings us to the New England Patriots at pick 69. And where did I go with you guys in the first couple picks? Trey Harris, receiver. You got your number 1 receiver. And you got your offensive tackle, Armand Membou. Now, where do you guys go from here? You guys need offensive tackle help. I gave you Armand Membou. You need edge help, guard help, cornerback help. I think you try to beef up that offensive line. Get your quarterback some more help. Tate Ratledge from Georgia, I think, ends up going to you guys at this pick. I think that's a solid pick. Giving some more interior line help, which is never a bad thing. Pipeline player, could later become a starter, which is really good. Getting us into the next pick, the Jaguars. They got defensive tackle. And earlier in the second round, I gave them their receiver, Luther Burden. So, defensive tackle, tight end, cornerback, offensive tackle, and wide receiver. Honestly, I could see them going cornerback here, or I could see them going tight end because they do need a tight end. Let me see the available tight ends. Who is left? Gunnar Helm, Arroyo, Ferguson. I think Elijah Arroyo goes to Jacksonville. Gives them a solid tight end, always open, so much speed, can outrun linebackers, can be a matchup nightmare for them. And I think giving Trevor Lawrence an outlet like that and mixing him with Luther Burden and the other receiver that they have, I think could be so awesome for them. Which leads us into New Orleans. And again, I don't remember who I gave you guys. So Donovan Jackson, guard, which is solid for them. And I gave you Jackson Dart. Okay. So I gave you a quarterback, and I gave you a guard. And you guys are going to go Darian Porter, cornerback, just to help out that defensive side of the ball. You guys need help on the defense, and cornerback could be solid for you. Darian Porter could be that type of player who comes in and helps you guys really, really good. Which leads us into Chicago. Where do you guys go? Chicago. This is where the draft gets really difficult, guys. And I appreciate you if you're sticking with me. So I gave you a tackle. I gave you an edge. And I gave you running back. Tackle, edge, and running back. So you guys could use a linebacker and a safety. So let's see what linebackers are still here. Bear Carter. Safeties, Kevin Winston Jr. Yeah, Kevin Winston Jr. I think is going to be really, really good in this league. And I think he ends up going, this is where he could go. So I think they get a solid safety in this position. Now my Jets. Yay, we're back on the board. And I gave you guys tackle help, Will Campbell in the first round. And I gave you, who did I give my Jets to? Mason Taylor, tight end. All right. So we got our offensive tackle. We got our tight end. Now I'm looking at this board, and I'm looking at types of players here that could be really, really good for the Jets. Defensive tackle is big need. Wide receiver is also a big need. But I honestly think they're going to try to stick with defense. And I think Alfred Collins is going to be the pick here. Defensive tackle from Texas. Big guy, solid player. I think could come in and be a stud right next to Quinnen Williams on this defense. So Alfred Collins ends up going to the Jets at pick 73. Which brings us back to Carolina. And in their last pick, I gave them a cornerback. I think receiver could be big here. I think Kyle Williams ends up going to Carolina in this position. Big receiver, could complement them really well and help out Bryce Young. Which brings us to the Niners. Now, I've been going with defense. They got a defensive tackle. They got their edge rusher. And I think they continue with defense as well and ends up going Barrett Carter, linebacker from Clemson. Stick with defense on them. The 49ers need so much defensive help on here. And I think doing this, focusing on defense earlier in the rounds, could be solid for them. Now we get to Dallas. Dallas, who did I give you? I gave you Trayvon Henderson, running back. And I gave you Matthew Golden, receiver. So you got a receiver and a running back focusing on the offensive side of the ball. This is where I think you guys end up going defense. And the one I think you guys end up going with is Denzel Burke from Ohio State, cornerback. Because you need cornerback help. You don't know what's going on with some of the guys you have already there. And I think you need some help in that secondary. Which leads us to New England. I gave you your receiver. I gave you your tackle. I believe I gave you another solid player as well in here. Hello, New England. Trey Harris. So, and I gave you Tate Ratledge, guard. So where do you guys go from here? Could use edge, Braden Swinson. Garrett Wilson, continue with that. Omar Norman Lott, Shamar Turner. Let's see. Could use cornerback help too. I think they go the best edge rusher. Braden Swinson ends up going to New England here. Just fits that defense, honestly. I think he could be solid there. Nice rotational piece, honestly, and give you some good pass rush on third downs. And then brings us to the Cardinals. I gave you an edge rusher. I believe I gave you a receiver as well. Cardinals. Jalen Noel, yep. Now let's continue on with what you guys would need. I think you're going to end up going guard here. And I think you guys end up taking Jared Wilson out of Georgia. Just to help. He's a center. He could play guard as well, but you need a center too. Could play either or. And I think he could be solid for you guys in the end. Then brings us to Texans. They got Banks earlier. I think you're going to try to beef up that defense, and Omar Norman Lott is going to be your pick right here from Tennessee. And then getting into the next pick with the Raiders at pick 80. I gave them a running back. I gave them a receiver. I gave them the safety. So continuing on, I think I'm going to try to continue with the defense. And I am going to go with Shamar Turner for them right here. I think he's going to come in, be a solid player for them. Going on to the Bengals, again, more defensive help for them could always be a good thing. And honestly, I think they end up going safety. Lathan Ransom, I think ends up in Cincinnati, could be a solid player. Continuing on, going with the Seahawks. Guard, tackle, wide receiver, I gave them cornerback. I gave them edge. I'm going to give them Ozzie Trapilo, tackle. Think he's going to be a big physical guy, could start day one for them at right tackle. Then it brings me to my Jets again. We need receiver help, and I don't believe I gave you receiver help in the last one. I gave you tight end and Alfred Collins, defensive tackle. So receiver could definitely be a big one for you guys, and let me see if there's any worth taking. Tez Johnson. As you guys know on this channel, I love Tez Johnson. I don't think he goes here. Xavier Restrepo, I think, is solid too. Torrey Horton. But there's a receiver that I think is so underrated and would be a perfect complement to Garrett Wilson. And I made a video and I put him in it. The Jets are going to take Xavion Williams. He's a big guy, can block, can be a gadget type player, can be a kick returner, punt returner, can do everything. Played quarterback in high school, could be a solid player there, guys. I think he is going to be a steal for the New York Jets, which brings us to the Bucs. And the Bucs, I gave you guys some safety help, cornerback help. What can I do for you here? I think edge would be perfect for you guys here. And I'm going to go with Josiah Stewart from Michigan. I think he's really good, especially in this late in the draft. I think he could be solid for you guys and be a good rotational piece for you as well. Running back and tight end I gave you guys. Could use cornerback, could use linebacker. Receiver help could be solid for you guys as well. And I think I'm going to go receiver. And this is where, honestly, don't be shocked if it happens. Bo Nix gets his brother. He gets Tez. I think that would be a really cool story. And honestly, I think that could definitely happen. They need a slot receiver, and Tej Johnson fits the bill. Not the fastest guy, but he's always freaking open for some reason. He's great. I love Tej Johnson. Very respectable player, too. That brings us to the Chargers. Chargers, I gave you tight end. I gave you a receiver and a cornerback as well, I believe. So I am going to beef up that defensive line, and I am going to give you... Is there any defensive tackles that are worth taking? Guys, you know how much I love Deone Walker. He hasn't been talked about enough, but he's a massive man. Fast for his size. What they could do with him on that defensive... Yep, pulling the trigger. Deone Walker going to the Chargers. Love that move for them. That would be great for them. Green Bay, edge, cornerback, wide receiver, DT. I think this is where these guys pull the trigger on a receiver, and it might be a stretch. It might be a reach, but I think Torrey Horton could go here. Solid receiver, good speed, and tough as heck. Can block too. So I think he ends up going to Green Bay. Give them the receiver. Jacksonville, defensive tackle you need. You got your defensive tackle already. Gave you your tight end. I think Marcus Mbow goes here. You need to protect Trevor Lawrence. I think this could be a perfect spot for him. Texans. Where did I get you guys? So Texans, what did I give you? I gave you defensive tackle, guard, and tackle. Defensive tackle, offensive tackle, and guard. Centers. Not worth taking up there. Do I double dip? No, not worth it there. The run on receivers could be crazy at this point. Xavier Restrepo, I think, ends up going here. Perfect compliment to Nico Collins. Honestly, you need to give Stroud more help. Brings us to the Rams. Guys, this is where I think another quarterback goes. I think these guys end up taking Quinn Ewers. I think they like Quinn Ewers. I think he's a very good compliment and could learn behind Stafford. I think this is where they take Quinn Ewers. Which leads us to Baltimore. I don't remember who I gave you guys. Gave you this great Zabel, edge. You guys need a good amount of stuff. You need cornerback help too. Is there a cornerback that's worth taking here? Dorian Strong, Zy Alexander? I think so. I think you guys pull the trigger on Dorian Strong. You need a cornerback. You lost Brandon Stevens to the Jets. So replace him with another solid cornerback. And I think Dorian Strong could be really good for you guys. Which brings us to Seattle. Where are we going to go with you guys? Could always use more offensive line help. But I think I'm going to give you guys Ashton Gillott from Louisville. You need edge help. Solid defensive player. Another rotational piece for you guys. I think could be really, really good. Now, I gave you quarterback. I gave you a receiver. Guys, I think you are going to love this pick because I love this player so much and think he could be really, really good. And imagine Jackson Dart with Cam Scatabo behind him. Oh, that offense could be solid. I would love to see that. That could be really good. And Scatabo can do so much. He can block. He can run people over. He can catch. He can throw. He can do. He's utility guy. He can be solid for them. I think that would be great for them. Which leads us to the Cleveland Browns. Now, let's see. Cleveland, who did I give you guys? Tyler Shuck, I gave you your quarterback. I gave you your defensive tackle. I gave you your receiver / cornerback. So you guys could really go any other way. But I think you're going to end up trying to get some protection for your guy. And I'm going to give you Emory Jones from LSU. Left tackle, right tackle, can play either side. Solid run blocker, decent pass blocker. Can give you guys a lot. Needs to work on a lot of things. Normally stands straight up. Can lose leverage. But can turn into a solid foundational piece on that line. Which leads us to the Kansas City Chiefs. This might get people frustrated, Kansas City fans. But your tight end, Travis Kelce, doesn't seem like he's got a lot of years left in him. So why not get him a solid replacement? I am going to give you guys Gunnar Helm as his replacement. Somebody who can block and can cover. Somebody who's really, really good. I think you can come in and be your starter of the future for Kansas City. I would love Gunnar Helm going there. Which leads us into our next guy, the Eagles. I'm going to give you guys an offensive tackle. You need line help too. Rotational pieces are always solid. You guys get Cameron Williams from Texas. I think that could be really good for you guys. Especially with Mekhi Becton leaving, you can use some guard help. He can play guard. Vikings. I don't remember who I gave you guys. I need to take a look at my picks for you. Vikings. Where are you, Vikings? They're gone now. Oh, Malachi Starks, I gave you your safety. Gave you your safety. You had one pick. So you have your safety. Who do you end up going with? Let's see cornerbacks. Is there any solid cornerbacks still available? Zy Alexander. I really like Zy Alexander. Could be Bryant. Could see Riley. Edge. I'm going to give you Jordan Birch because I don't want to reach on a cornerback at this point, and you need edge rush help. And I think Birch can come in and be a rotational piece for you. Good run block, good run stuffer. Could use some more pass rushing moves, but solid player. And I think Flores can do a lot with him. Dolphins. You need a lot of offensive line help. You got your tackle. I'm going to give you guys Dylan Fairchild from Georgia. You need guard help. Offensive line. Try to protect Tua and Zach Wilson now. And I think you guys could use all the offensive line help you could get. Which leads us into the Giants. Last couple of picks. You got your quarterback. You got your edge rusher. Where do you go here? You could use a tight end. You could use linebacker. Charles Grant would be solid. Joshua Farmer as a defensive tackle. I think you continued on the defensive side. You got your edge rusher. You guys are going to take Joshua Farmer here. Solid player. Put him next to Dexter Lawrence, and you guys could feast. And that leads us to the 49ers. Do they continue their ways of the defensive side of the ball, or do they finally move to offense? think this is where we finally get to the offensive side of the ball. And I don't think it's a position you guys are going to think of, but I think you go tight end Terrence Ferguson. Because again, Kittle, he gets hurt a lot. It's great tight end, one of the best in the league, if not the best. But he does get hurt a good amount, and you need somebody to come in there and give Purdy a safety outlet. And Ferguson can be that guy. And I think that could be a great pick for you guys. And then we get to the Rams. Gave you a cornerback. Gave you a cornerback and a quarterback. I think you guys end up going linebacker, and you take Demetrius Knight. I love Demetrius Knight. I think he's a great, great player. And I think he would fit great in that defense, which leads us to the end of the draft with the Detroit Lions pick. Where do you go? Could use safety help. You already beefed up your cornerbacks. You know what? I'm going to give you safety help here because I think that could be solid for you. And I'm going to go Jonas Sanker. Very underrated player. I think could be great for you guys and great, great spot for you guys as well. But guys, that is our 3-round mock draft. Let me know what you guys think. Is there any positions you think for your teams that I missed on? Is there any positions that you think I hit on? Do you like who I picked for your teams? Do you like my reasoning for them? Or do you think I'm just crazy? Let me know down in the comments. And again, thank you so much for joining me in the Jets Ward. Have a great rest of your day, guys.